Okay. Okay. So is that Megan, or I see Molly Hvac?
That was Molly's tile that came up.
Molly Hvac is her mother.
Oh, okay. Her mother is joining us as an attendee. I see her there.
Probably a felling mother.
Amanda, you have Alice's name on your tile.
Oh, well, I don't know what to say about that. I just know I'm not Alice. You're right.
Like you're testing us.
That's what she
Paying
used her
attention.
email.
What's that?
Alice connected me. She sent me her link and I got in through her link. I don't understand why it isn't. I don't know what happened because I thought I had
Rename you. I can rename you Amanda.
We don't want to get confused.
There we go.
Thank you.
You're
Do we
welcome.
have any people who are watching?
We have Molly Hvac so far.
Okay, so we click on attendees, and those are the people that are attending that are not panelists.
Correct.
And the panelist link is actually a specific link to a person.
Yes.
Okay, so like Maddie just joined.
Yes.
We will actually open the meeting tonight, and I will ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to the Ossining Library Board of Trustees meeting. It was regularly scheduled for this past Monday, but we're holding it on Wednesday, the 26th of January, 2022. We have a lot to go over tonight, so I'm actually going to disrupt the scheduled agenda, and I'll take a quick attendance. All of our trustees are here, as well as Molly Robbins and Karen LaRockefels and Kathy Byrne and Leslie Allen of the foundation and Megan Hvac, a new trustee. That's all I have on my screen. I believe Dennis Newberger was with us. There he is. And the first item of business will actually be Resolution 45, the appointment of a new trustee to fill the remaining second year of an unfinished term. I'll read the resolution and then ask Megan to join me in the oath of office.
I'll say so moved, right? We have to move it too.
I'm going to finish reading it. In accordance with the bylaws, the Board of Trustees has appointed Megan Hvac to fill in the remaining second year of an incomplete three-year trustee term. This position will become open for election in May of 2022 as a one-year term that completes the three-year trustee term of office. I will entertain a motion to accept and a second so we can proceed to a vote. Alice and Cecilia, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any abstentions or objections? There being none, the resolution number 45 carries. So at this time, Megan, I will ask you to rise and join me in reciting the oath of office. Please repeat after me. I, Megan Hvac,
I, Megan Hvac,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of trustee
of the office of trustee
of the Ossining Public Library
of the Ossining Public Library
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
A round of applause. Megan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, the document will also need to be signed by you and delivered to Kathy Byrne, the secretary, the Karen secretary, I should say. I see Jonathan Marshall has joined us. Good evening, Jonathan. And the next item on our agenda is the approval of the prior meeting minutes. It's actually two different meetings. Everyone was in attendance at both meetings. That's the December 13, 2021 regular meeting and the January 19 special meeting. Are there any questions or comments? If you need a moment to review, we'll take a moment. Otherwise, if we can have a motion to accept in a second, we'll proceed to a vote.
So moved.
And seconded, thank you. And all those in favor of accepting the prior meeting minutes, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or objections? There being none, it carries 6-0. At this point in time, Megan, we usually ask our visitors if they have any comments, but you're not a visitor tonight. So you can relax and your speaking part, your official speaking part is over. So if we have any opportunities to ask any questions or make any comments, the mic is open. At this time, I'll ask Dennis Newberger, the president of the Friends of the Library, if he'd like to bring us up to date. There's a lot of information you sent to us tonight.
Hello, everyone, and I'm wishing everyone a peaceful 2022. There is a lot of data, and what I did is I consolidated for the meeting, but for the trustees and Molly, I'm lucky that Michelle put together a huge package that would have been used had we had a public meeting. But this way you have it to review, and if you have any questions, you can get back, to me. On our checking account, we have $5,459 and savings $7,702. The book sale brought in $1,025, and one of the other reports I sent, the volunteers during the past year, saving us labor was $7,658. Last year, we assisted on the renovations of 4 items, and in 2022, we will help with the Robert Goodenough painting. There won't be an annual meeting again this year due to the virus. It's going to be conducted. Emails have been sent out to everyone with all the information, and we do have an open seat on the board. So anyone that wants to vote, or if they have any objections, can do it through the instructions on the email. We are planning another book sale, and it is very important. It's March 19th, and we call it the March Madness because we seem to be going through a transition of organizations and not wanting books. And we want to see how much we can make in March, theming the NCAA playoff games. But we are so overloaded, we cannot accept donations at this time. Barbara Henninger has decided not to be on the board for 2022. I would definitely miss her hands-on involvement, and she has been a tremendous help to me. But she will be available, and we'll ask her to, attend any meetings that she can, because we still need her advice and counsel. We want to do something for her, and I will let people know she does not want to go to a restaurant. So once we decide what we're gonna do. We'll let, the staff of the library know in case you want to either send some communication or, whatever you think. But I know most of you know her, for everything she's done for the library over the years. This is something that, again, never expecting to happen. Diana had established that we would help the Maryknoll Library as they downsize and get ready to close, but we can't accept anything anymore. We did, and we're trying to see if some of it can be used by the Peace Corps. But as I became a member of a board for the American Legion, and some of the items that I took down from Maryknoll started a conversation we had, and they asked, at Maryknoll, do you know if there were any religious people that served in the military? And Brother Wayne did do some investigating, found out there were 23 priests and brothers and possibly 4 or more sisters. So February is Give Back to Veterans Month. So school children, donations and everything else will deliver, so that can be distributed as thank you gifts to the various veterans who are up in Maryknoll. What we are also doing is trying to expand that so that other religions, other organizations can benefit. But it was all because Diana had set up that meeting with Brother Wayne, and that's a really good thing. Everything is on hold right now. Maryknoll, the Peace Corps, the American Legion, Cedar Manor, and we've had no homebound deliveries, nothing to Cedar Manor. And there is that student contacting about an organization Yorktown High School has needing paperback books. We still are maintaining the coin drop off to the children. We did not have we were hoping to have some sort of a holiday event, but we had to postpone that due to the virus. As I said, there's a full report that goes into everything that the Friends did. I have a great team. I was really blessed. And anyone have any questions?
Dennis, I have a comment. The transparency is stunning. For us to know the details that you folks are doing, I could never agree with you when you say that there's not much going on. It's terrific. And the idea of having another book sale, I think, is just wonderful. No matter how many people it pulls in, it just creates this wave of awareness, and it shows caring for the community. And I thank you, and I thank the entire Friends group.
Thank you. I will let them know. Thank you very much.
Terrific. Terrific. So at this time, I would like to turn to our foundation and our leader, Leslie Allen. And I think you're on mute.
Shoot, I was just brilliant too.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. It was, what I was going to say is it's fortuitous that the meeting was moved from Monday to Wednesday, because Monday I had absolutely nothing to say. And tonight I can say that the foundation met yesterday. We have agreed on a 2-pronged approach to this year. One, to sort of do smaller one-off projects, and another to map out the entire year and have a larger, if you will, strategic plan that actually picks up on some of the strategic plan that was generated from the consultant last year. So the other members are familiarizing themselves with the strategic plan. We're meeting again in 2 weeks, and we are going to go month by month and have something on the calendar for each month as part of a either contributing to a longer range project or a specific project. In February, we're going to do the singing telegrams again. The Risco Music School is going to do the singing telegrams. I think that we are going to be raising money for the modular unit on the main floor. We are hoping to get to $15,000. I don't think we'll get even close to that with the singing telegrams, but it's a beginning. We're waiting for the wording on some sort of very short wording on what this space is going for, so that Miriam can sell it to raise money for the singing telegrams. Luckily, most people that want the Valentine singing telegrams will be buying them anyway. So, but I think that if there's a chance to have a conversation, we do want to be able to pivot and talk about the library. All the proceeds from the singing telegrams will go towards the library. In 2 weeks, after our meeting in 2 weeks, I would love to come back next month and give you a much more detailed report about what we're trying to do, what we discussed. But I'm excited that everybody wants to meet more often and really put some things down on paper and map out this year.
Excellent.
And
Thank you.
I would invite maybe Megan, I would add Megan to the distribution for those meetings because she has expertise in the nonprofit world and grant writing. So
Great.
if you're
Hi,
willing
Megan. Welcome.
to be
Hi, Leslie.
our new foundation team, you would be very welcome to join us.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Good idea. So at this time, we'll ask our WLS rep, Jonathan Marshall, to join us.
Oh, again, good evening. Couple things. We had our meeting yesterday, and some of the things that came up that I think it would be helpful just to share. In a big picture, the New York State budget for libraries, library aid basically got $2 million more is in the budget right now, $96 million. That's the good news. The public library construction aid budget figure right now is $14 million, which unfortunately is $20 million down from last year's $34 million. So that ties into the next idea, and that is Advocacy Day. Library Advocacy Day is March 2nd, 2022. It will be virtual. There's some ideas right now being discussed for that by the New York Library Association in their bigger picture, but in a more direct local picture. As Matt knows, the WLS, we haven't figured out another name besides Trustee Gathering. If anybody can figure out a better name than that, please. But it's basically the gathering of trustees from the member libraries in Westchester. So that looks like that will be the first activity that will occur and be open for invitations to all the member library board trustees. So we can share information. They're working out right now, basically the exact program is being worked out right now towards the end date, which will be towards the end of February. Somebody from the New York Library Association is a possible attendee, just to help explain some of the ideas and really goals for the New York, for us to really target with the idea that everybody's trying to address this with the same basic messaging and same goals is more effective than different messaging and different goals. But we want to localize it. So there's even some discussion now, so in February, to break out local groups, and that could be either geographical or library size. But I think, again, we appreciate Matt's involvement with that. And we look forward to developing other programs that tie into member library trustees to get more connected with each other. And that's a helpful idea. Also, coming up is just for dates, is the trustee handbook book club. Next meeting will be February 22. And that topic, appropriate enough, will be on facilities. So if any of the trustee members would like to join that, that would certainly be a good one to join, because the trustee handbook book club is basically is trying to do first topic. Basically, they have a topic for each of the first 6 months of 2022, with the idea that they will extend that into the rest of the year. So that's February 22, and the topic is facilities. Also, open meeting law, as you may know, is been extended to February 14th, 2022. Will it be extended further? To be announced. Most likely, something will be done, because I think we're all on Zoom tonight, and as cold as it's going to be out there, it's probably a good thing. And there's one thing I think that was interesting in listening to some of the priorities of your strategic plan is the diversity, equity, and inclusion audit will be is moving forward with the WLS, with the idea that we will get a DEI audit by a group called Your Choice Coach, and they will start meetings with staff members and other focus groups and trustees, working with basically kind of come up with an audit of the diversity, equity, inclusion for WLS. So I know that's an important priority for Ossining per your strategic plan. Also, and I think certainly Karen will know more about this than I do, but I see that there's a 5 Towns, 1 Book community event right now that is involved with the sort of the East community, the Eastern libraries, but dealing with through January and March an anti-racism and racial healing events that a number of libraries throughout the Westchester library system will be participating in, and Ossining is of course one of them. And so I don't know the exact program, but I think that's terrific, and I think it's good that we expand more into that. And besides that, there's some good development work. Total raised by development in 2021 was over $400,000 was raised, and one grant that just came in, I think it's going to be listed as 2022, will be basically it's basically a wireless and digital equity related grant that will be involved, and I'll hear more about this, and as I get more information, I will share that with you. So there's a number of things going on, and that's a good thing for WLS, and wanted to see if there's any questions that anyone has.
I have a comment. The amount of the effort that's being made by WLS now is very different than the last couple of years, and it's appreciated. I want to stay in touch with you about the effort for advocacy. I'd be glad to communicate the details to our board, and we should stay in touch on that.
Terrific, absolutely. There's going to be a meeting coming up. I want to say it's the date. I'll have to double check the date. I want to say it's the 7th, February 7th, for the group to get together again. The trustee gathering, the group.
Okay.
If it's different than that, I'll send you a reminder on that one.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonathan, quick question on the
Yes.
trustee handbook book club.
Yes.
I'm on the buildings and grounds committee, so facilities, I definitely need to be there. So has the invitation gone out already on our WLS Gmail, or?
I think how that's done exactly, I don't, Karen, I know you get some of the dates and things. Why don't I just send you the link? Why don't I do that?
Great, thank you.
Just so you'll have it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll send it along.
And I would encourage Megan as our newest member, these book clubs, they're typically at like 5 o'clock for an hour, and they're time well spent because it just sort of forces you to look at a section of the trustee handbook. So if you could forward it to all of us, Kathy, that would be great. I've been taking them myself and they're actually really good.
Right, and that's the,
Reading them are excellent.
Yeah,
And
I
I haven't
trustee
done all
handbook.
of them, but I'm definitely doing facilities. I've
Yeah.
already signed up.
yes, and I would encourage all
Terrific.
of
And by the way,
members
the
facilities.
previous sessions of the book club have been recorded, so you can listen to those at your leisure.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, John.
Pleasure.
Karen, if perhaps you're ready, we are ready for the director's report.
Yes, absolutely. So I just want to begin it with an apology that I am still working on the budget, later than I'd like to be this year. But I will have something together for the Finance Committee soon. Alfema, thank you for your patience. That way we can have it for the February meeting. So like I said, this year has been a year of delays, 2 years of delays. I'll just go over some of the highlights of my report, and please feel free to stop me and ask questions whenever you'd like. The Omicron surge threw us for a bit of a loop. We sort of stepped back some of our in-person programs, but we didn't step back our public hours or anything like that. And I think that that was very much appreciated. I know that that was very much appreciated by our public. We made sure to keep all of our services that we could run, and most of them we could, running well. It is a very stressful time for everybody involved. Our staff are under a good deal of stress, as you can imagine, and our public as well. We're trying to sort of continue to communicate the importance of compassion with each other and compassion with our patrons, because we are noticing that tensions are running very high right now. It just in all aspects of our lives. We can see it outside of our work lives as well. Langan is continuing along in their work on our retaining wall. They have recommended to us that we enlist them to do an additional piece of work on our wall to create a topographic survey. I will ask Molly to speak about that later in the agenda. The appraisal is done, so thank you very much for approving that going forward. And I've sent the insurance company the updated information, so they have everything that they need from their end. Molly has also been making arrangements with 2 architects so far. We've discussed, this board has discussed, and Molly and I have been discussing the need for some oversight expertise as we move forward with our larger building projects, for the HVAC, for the roof, for all of the different things that we know we need to at least think about attending to. And so Molly was able to set up a meeting with an architect from Lothrop Associates. The building committee met with him the other day, and she's also reached out to Danner, whom we've worked with before, to see if we can get a meeting with them. And I bet we'll be reporting out on that at the building committee section of the agenda. Bad news on the HVAC front. Geothermal well number 4 is most likely permanently out of service. The pump was fused to the piping down about 500 feet in their attempt to get it out. And this is always a risk every time this happens. They being Connecticut Wells, broke the sleeve of the well, probably making it defunct. The pumps, and if anybody would like a little bit more information on how this happened, I'm happy to give it to them. But this is unfortunately something that happens more regularly than we would like. The pumps burn out, they get very hot as they're burning out, and they get stuck to the side of the sleeve of the well. The good news is that with that having happened, normally in previous winters with the very cold weather that we've had, I would have expected that we would have to shut down for certain periods of time because of the cold temperatures in the building. But I believe that the boiler is doing what we want to do, and we have been able to maintain reasonably okay temperatures in the building. So I think what could have been a very different, now I should knock wood because, you know, we could hit critical mass tomorrow and that's, you know, that's the end of it. But I think that both Molly and I feel very relieved that the first step towards our fixing this problem seems to already be helping us out. And especially now that we know that we're probably down to down one well. We are still moving ahead with implementing our technology. It's going very, very nicely. We do have bumps in the road. As you know, our big next project is to migrate everybody over to Microsoft Outlook email. Everybody has been working towards this. Oh, Kathy, don't shake your head. Everybody has been working towards this since about August, September. It's a big transition and we are going as gently as we possibly can with as much help as we possibly can. The trustees will be moving over too. So we'll be making sure that that is as smooth and as seamless as we can possibly make it for you. We are right now in the E-rate process for funding for fiscal year 2022-2023. Allison and I are working with E2E on that. And we are also working on the work for the projects that we got approved funding for when we filed last year. So we're moving ahead on the the addition of 2 switches in our network room to help with, to increase our capacity and possibly manage a voice over IP telephone system, which we'll be discussing later in the year. And also we're looking to rewire or add some drops to about 1/3 of our building as we put in for, I'm sorry, 1/3 of our building this year, and then we'll be putting in for another 1/3 of our building next year. So the idea is to replace all of the Cat 5 wiring with Cat 6 wiring, and also to add data drops to places where we know we need data drops. We have a number of places in the building where we have wires pulled across walls and like splitters and things like that. We know that that's not good and we want to get away from that. So that's going well. Let's see. Diana and I are hopefully in the final stages of filling our librarian 2 position. It has been a very, very long process, and we are hopeful that at this final end of the process that we don't hit any snags. But I will say we're down to 3 very excellent candidates. Diana and I have a preference, and we're moving forward in that process. So that'll be good. January was the the rollout of the first step of implementing personnel reviews in the building. Department heads have been meeting with the folks in their departments to go over the review forms that we're using, to talk about goals, to talk about issues that might need to be addressed before folks have their review meeting and review. And I think that's going pretty well. We're going to be using the next few months to finish up the review forms that we still have yet to do, and rolling out that process as well. The long-range strategic plan in cross-departmental teams, the brand and image team, the community outreach and engagement team, and the staff engagement and training teams have all started meeting and started their work, and I'm really excited about their work going forward. In addition to those teams, we formed those teams because we needed them to be cross-departmental. The different departments are also working towards the long-range planning goals within their departments. So that's all going on. I'm meeting with Michael Holmes next Monday to discuss a possible next phase of his engagement. I would like to tackle staff DEI training first. I think that that's a priority. He had provided me with a proposal for that, plus some outreach and engagement things, and I'm just hesitant to bite off more than I can actually chew. I think I want to make sure that I have the time and the capacity, and the staff have the time and capacity to do the work. So hopefully I will have a proposal for you by the February meeting that you can review. and possibly approve. Working on some grant paperwork, wrapping that up. We are working on the boiler project is officially done. Hooray. We are working on and Kathy's a big help in this. She's a big help in everything, but this in particular. We are working on the final grant paperwork for the $50,000 SAM grant that we received from Carlucci all those years ago. So that will be filed. That's a reimbursement grant. And then we'll next be working on the wrap up for the library construction grant that we received part of, and we'll receive the rest of it when we file the paperwork. That was for $411,000. Those two grants sort of had to fit together, so we needed to do them at the same time, and we're going to be working on that over the next month or so. And just another shout out for the Library Trustee Handbook Book Club. It's really great. Everybody should do it. And I think that's all I had that was in my written report. You have the reports from the departments. Everybody is, everybody said they thought December was very slow and they didn't have much to say, but then I saw a lot in their reports. So I don't know what they were talking about in that regard. I did want to give you a heads up. It wasn't in my report because I didn't have the details at the time. Joyce Sherrock Cole, our village historian, who is always amazing and helping us provide some really excellent opportunities at the library, has arranged for Rob Imbriano, who is the producer of the Netflix series Amend, to come to the library and talk about his project and he's going to show either an episode or a piece of an episode of Amend and then discuss it. That will be Saturday, February 12th at 2 o'clock in the theater. So as soon as we have the flyer all 100%, I think it is actually, I just haven't gotten the last one. I'll send it out to you so you have that information, and we'll be pushing it out to the public. We have a sort of quick turnaround time for this because it just sort of came together, and February 12th isn't too far away. So once that goes out, I would appreciate all of your help pushing out the information to your networks. Joyce is going to be sending it out, of course, to her really extensive network. So I think we'll be able to get the word out there. The other thing I wanted to say, which I neglected to include in my report, was the carpeting was just done, like they finished today in the 2 rooms that are the computer labs downstairs and the 2 rooms in the Cheever room, the 2 sides of the Cheever room. It looks really, really nice. A big kudos to Molly for getting it done and for all of the logistics that went into that. It looks really great. It makes the 2 computer lab rooms look really different and caused us to have some really interesting ideas about those rooms. So I'm going to be wanting to talk to the board or the building committee about these ideas, because I think they're, when you see a space in a different way, it really just sort of gets the ideas flowing. Does anybody have any questions about my report or anything I've said?
Karen, I think that it's very detailed, and I appreciate everyone's input. And the question I have is about air conditioning. Come this summer, we're down a pump. We don't have a backup, at least with the heat. That furnace was meant to be supplemental, and so far it's carrying the heating load, so to speak.
Yep. Pretty good.
Are we faced with a dilemma for
Yes.
hot months?
Yep. We are faced with a potentially very difficult summer.
Short of closing sections of the building or the whole building, there's really no other alternative that I can imagine, is there?
No, but maybe there are possibilities. I have had some brief discussions in the past with OLA about emergency air conditioning situations, or like spot air conditioning. Venting is a problem with those solutions, but there are some ideas that Jim Dolan had for venting. So I think I'm going to want to have those conversations again. I don't know if it's a great solution. I don't even know if it's feasible. But yes, you're right, Matt. It's going to be, while the winter has been as surprisingly delightful. This summer, I think, is going to be quite different.
Okay. And for the purposes of just a timeline, you mentioned the union. Are we now waiting to hear what the next step could be? I'm not asking for the details in this setting, just a timeline.
Yep, I can tell you that a meeting has been set for the negotiating committee to reconvene for Wednesday, February 9th.
Good. Very good. Would anyone else have any questions or comments for Karen at this time?
In terms
Yes,
of
Oh, I do regarding professional development for the trustees. I know that in 2023, it will be a requirement that we are to meet. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it's something that we all agreed as trustees of the board that we want to encourage us to do. And of course, this book club is part of that, or at least I see it that way. When you complete a session with the book club, you receive a certificate that it's been completed. So would it be good practice for all of us to begin to accumulate these things? We may want to do it in our own individual files, but is that something that I don't know that you have any way of you'd want to record anything like this at all? Just as good practice.
I think it would be a good idea to keep your own file, but I would also appreciate it if you send a copy to me and Kathy together, because we're not quite sure how we're going to, we have to report this out on the annual meeting that Trustee completed this. And I know that Matt has, I think there's some sort of like certification that Matt has to do in some way, shape, or form. I'm not quite clear on it yet. So if you can send those things along to me and Kathy, so that we have them here in the building, that would be helpful, please.
There should be some way, though, that you should be able to just go to whoever implements that, and they should just be able to data dump you, the people from our board who have attended, I would think. Too. So, like, I don't even, I delete those emails, right? Because I'm like, oh, what do I need this for? So, like, I can't even find them. I won't be able to
So
find
if there's something that you attended that you don't have a backup for, what I would suggest is if you could send, I'm happy to follow up for you, but I need specifically the workshop that you attended and the date and the organization that gave it. I mean, obviously I know for the handbook ones, that's easy, but if it's something different, just send me an email with that information and I can follow up with the organization and see if they can send me something.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
The other item is the operating budget and revenue report. I'll just refer everyone to the green colored pages. The information I looked at seemed to indicate that the library is solvent. The page, there's a page at the end that's not numbered, but a sequence would make it number 5. And it reads that year to date, the financial statements, the library has a favorable balance, and that's due to less payroll expense than budgeted. And there are variances in categories, but all within reason. So that report is positive. Under the committee reports, we can move on to the president's report. I want to share with everyone what we already know, that we had a successful search for a new trustee. 4 applicants actually applied, and we have selected one who's joined us tonight. We've completed the director's review, and we have an upcoming trustee review, which originally was intended to be annual, but I think it would make sense to make it biennial, which means that we would do it every other year. And that's meant to bring to your attention, not really meant to take up time tonight, because I just want to pursue that down the road. And the one of the applicants for the trustee position, Michelle Masato, indicated to me that in response to my telling her that we selected a different applicant, and I would like to talk to her about staying in touch with the library and perhaps offering her other opportunities to volunteer at the library, she responded very favorably. But I don't intend this to be my presentation. I wanted to wait to respond to her because I wanted to open that potential conversation to every other board member, and Karen, to you as well. If you would like to join me in speaking to her, I think that would be great. And it's open-ended, so you can shoot me an email or a text and we could discuss it and prep and then reach out to her. And I'm very enthused that she responded positively. And if there are no other questions for the president's report, Kathy.
Yes, Matt, I think you should say something to Megan about having some kind of orientation for her. She's hearing all about everything tonight. I've been working on putting the binder together that we give new trustees. So I wanted to say something, if you'd say something to help her feel that she's going to be getting some more information from us. Okay.
Yes, Megan, Kathy brings up a point I alluded to in previous emails, that we will have a more formal orientation for you.
Okay. And
our intention is to overwhelm you with information. So you really do feel like you're volunteering at a library.
Yeah.
But
Thanks so much, Kathy. That was very thoughtful of you. I appreciate it.
thank you, Kathy.
And all of us are more than happy to, speak with you, make time to sort of, just get acquainted too. So welcome. And I also just, going back to buildings and grounds, I still just continue to ask this question, that I thought that we were going to get not just the report from OLA, but some alternative concepts, not just plowing forward with the plan. And given what you're alluding to with the summer, we need that.
So the intent, Alice, of bringing on expertise to help us navigate through this process through the architectural firms we've reached out to is, the intent is to mitigate that concern so that we can have sort of an overarching eye on everything that we're making decisions on, to make sure that we're making decisions that we feel comfortable with, that the board feels comfortable with. We haven't moved forward in beyond what we've already done with OLA.
Got it. But I feel like they should be open to presenting some other options, given that we've just lost a well and all these things going forward.
I guess what I'm saying is that's a conversation that we will be having, that we intend to have
in the Buildings and Grounds Committee.
Mm-hmm. That's my intention, and I think that that's probably a good way forward.
And also, speaking of committee assignments, I know we have a new board member, so it might be nice to discuss the committee assignments with Matt, and maybe some board members that are on several committees might yield a spot to Megan so she can be on some committees too.
Good idea. So at this point in time, Amanda, we can move on to the policy and bylaws and personnel. I wanted to interject that Shandi had to step off. She wasn't feeling well, so I extended that our regrets and hope that she feels better soon. And Amanda, I'll turn it over to you.
I've been waiting.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say one thing that I have learned, and that is that as trustees, Megan, we are supposed to be familiar with our policies. And so one of the things that we've been doing is regularly going through and looking at the policies. And one thing that's easy to do is to pay attention to those that seem most important and others get sort of pushed by the wayside. So we have policies to review tonight that we want to bring to the board as a first reading that have not been, I want to say, at the top of the list for quite a few years, but it's really important now to look at them for multiple reasons. So, and it's timely to look at them. So one is the art exhibit policy, which the trustees have had quite a bit of input in, and how we would like to see this policy updated to reflect current practices. Another one, collection development, material selection and withdrawal policies, which we also thought the revisions that you will see in red are most pertinent and deal with practices as they are now. Volunteer policy is another one where we said, oh, wow, these changes that you'll see in red are just right at the moment and we want to implement them. And then the other one, which we have for a first reading tonight, use of meeting and performance space by outside organizations, is a policy we have been working on since the pandemic. And we are continuing to review and revise and move forward. So all of these are 3 are first readings, and this one is once again looking at it again as the pandemic has changed for us. So there's within the policy committee, if you become part of that committee, there is ample discussion and quite a few meetings. And we work hand in hand with Karen so that we really understand what it is that the library, the staff, everybody who is working with us really needs to have in place for the policies to work their best for the library. So these are first readings tonight, and I don't know how much discussion there will be. There may be ample discussion. There may be revisions, and then these will come back in successive months for us to do second readings and to pass. So that's what happens with policies. It's very exciting, you know.
I don't have any questions.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
It actually is really fundamental and important work and gives you a good idea of how an organization functions. So, and we are so grateful to Amanda for taking on this Herculean task that
It's the committee.
pawned off on you, and am so grateful to you for doing it. And you know, I think it is a very important committee for people to be on, and perhaps for a new board member as well, because it really will help them become familiar with the operations of the organization.
It may appear to be dry, but it really isn't.
I mean, I think policies are they're pretty important. I feel like you can exist at a level where you're not really paying attention to them, but I think, you know, they provide some grounding and some important guidance, definitely, and in key moments, and you don't want to feel like you wish that you revised them when you need them the most. So yeah.
And especially in light of our new long range plan and the implications with regard to DEI and all that. So it's actually, I don't happen to be on the committee anymore, but it's, I think it's really an important place for someone to have an impact if they're eager to join.
And I have to say the committee is a fabulous committee. You know, Cecilia brings a wonderful critical lens, and Matt has a greater perspective of the whole, you know, the whole envelope. So it's actually, it is a good committee. I'm selling our committee. But anyway, so for the trustees, this is first reading tonight of these policies. Does anybody have any questions? And if not, maybe we'll be able to proceed as they have been revised and for future second readings.
Very good.
Great.
Thanks. We're up to the Finance Committee. Karen, if I'm not mistaken, we will do the audit review at the next meeting in February.
Yes, yeah. And then I'll be reaching out to you hopefully soon to set up a meeting for the budget.
All right.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Thank you
February
for
14th.
understanding.
And we're up to Buildings and Grounds. I'm going to just interject that the clean air invoices will be forwarded to the Buildings and Grounds Committee. They had been coming at my request directly to the board because I thought that they were quite large. The amount of work was quite extensive and it required everyone's awareness. I really wanted everyone to feel the pain of this system so we can really be motivated to work on it. And I think we're going in the right direction. Otherwise, I guess Karen and Molly, I suppose there's an update on the wall and the HVAC.
I was going to ask Cecilia if it's okay if we sort of report out from the Buildings and Grounds Committee that we had the other day to meet with Robert Galbowski.
Please do, because I don't have my notes with me. I'm sorry. Thanks.
So just briefly, we have started to speak with architects, in particular Lothrop Architects, Robert Galbowski with Lothrop, and Daniel Huberger from Datner, to discuss potentially providing oversight and expertise for the large projects that we know we have to do going forward. We met with Bob on Monday, and he gave us a good overview of the different services that Lothrop provides. And it seems to be pretty extensive. He has really good and extensive experience working with libraries on projects big and small, including projects having to do with HVAC and roofs and that kind of thing. So I'm going to ask the building committee to come back together to sort of debrief about that, and also potentially get the architect from Datner to come and do a similar presentation. We worked with Datner for the space planning project that we did a couple of years ago. And we had also interviewed Lothrop at the same time. We really liked them. So that's one of the reasons why we brought them back.
So quick question. I did not miss the session with Daniel from Datner.
No.
So that's PDD?
No, Daniel gave me an impromptu session, and I asked him to, be prepared to present his exact same presentation to the group. He wanted to jump ahead a step, but I reined him in and said he needs to come and speak to the committee. So
Okay.
we're just picking a time right now. You'll start to see the emails go out about when everybody can meet.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to add the comment that Alice, regarding your previous statement, after going to this committee meeting on, what was it, Monday? I really felt a real confidence in pulling someone in as a consultant to help us make decisions of the nature that need to be made in the future. It was like, I felt like, I don't know this, but to bring someone in, there's a degree of not only trust, but you're getting an outside person's expertise to come in and offer guidance. And Cecilia, the way that you sort of encapsulated the whole picture really helped too, I thought.
I had the same feeling, Amanda. I thought that this was the right direction to go in.
Yeah. So thank you, Molly. I really appreciated having them come in.
We're not experts in these things, and we're really dealing with a huge number of challenges, shall we say.
Mhm.
So I think the more help that we can get, the better,
Mhm.
personally.
And I think we're really just based on, our experience with Datner in the past, conversations that I had recently, certainly everything that came up with Lothrop, the firms that do this kind of comprehensive oversight, some of the value for us is going to be as new, we keep having new things come up for us. And as our building ages and these things go on, that's likely to continue. And one of the nice things about this kind of oversight is that they can tell you, yes, you need to solve that problem, but it's best packaged with these two solutions, or you're going to have to pull this out separately because, this is an emergency and it's going to have to be done. You can't delay. You're going to have to, make some decisions immediately. And those are the kind of things that, can hang us up as a board where we're trying to make a decision. And we just don't know the whole picture.
And right now, so many variables outside of normal B&G variables keep changing. COVID had an impact on airflow system requirements. And now if weather patterns are changing, that's going to be another thing in terms of maintaining our temperature at a reasonable level. And if we get more than usual rainfall, that's going to impact our roof. So I think it's an added layer of insurance that is hugely important.
And let's not forget that the building opened almost 15 years ago, right? So while we think of it as a new building, it is not a brand new building. And every issue that we are dealing with, from the wall to the wells to all the HVAC issues to the roof, were issues on the plate right from the get-go of when this building opened. So I just want that to be noted, that none of these are actually new problems at all. And we have, none of us were even on the board that opened the library. We have inherited these problems that continue to get more challenging, right? But, it is no longer a new building, and none of these are new problems. So.
Yes, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments about the buildings and grounds at this time?
I wanted to say a few things briefly about the work that was done on the carpeting. With COVID creating such a problem for work crews, the company that did the work for us, it's the same company that did the theater, and they came in and did the work as scheduled. It was completed by the time we closed on Tuesday. So, there was only a small section of the library disrupted for, 2 days. And they did that with half the crew they were originally going to send. So I was very impressed. And they had hoped to do it earlier in January, but we still got it done in January, which also impressed me. I would have taken pictures, but we're still waiting to have the room painted. And quite honestly, the walls are so distracting that I felt like you couldn't really see the good stuff. But I hope some of you have a chance to stop by the building and take a look. It really did change the quality of the space. The removal of the built-in counters really changed that. And I think, as Karen was saying, you start to see possibilities for these spaces that you just couldn't see before. And that's great. That's nice for us to have that kind of flexibility and forward look. And in terms of
this,
yeah,
the carpet was 15 years old.
Right.
and showing every moment of it. And it's very helpful for me to see the clean air invoices. It does allow me to do some sort of additional background asking of questions that helps keep the rest of the buildings and grounds team, fully informed, and also to give some feedback about particular situations. There's some small electric heaters that have been acting up, and I've gotten so many different stories about them, and I now have my own question list, and I wouldn't have really been able to do that without being able to dig into these invoices. So thank you, Matt.
Okay, then we should continue the way we've been doing it. Thank you. Okay, at this point, we'll move on to resolutions. And Karen, if I'm correct, the first one, number 40, the approval of the audit will be postponed till we get the presentation. Very good. Move on to resolution 41, the personnel changes. They resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the following personnel changes. Karen, are there any comments or anything we need to know about?
I don't think so. The only thing I'll say is that the changes for the pages is because of the minimum wage increase that happened on December 31st.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on resolution 41?
I'm glad that we're paying minimum wage.
I'll entertain a motion to accept resolution 41 in a second, so we can proceed to a vote. Thank you, Cecilia and Amanda. All those in favor of resolution 41, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any abstentions? Any objections? It being none, it carries 6-0. And we'll move on to resolution 42, approval of the 2022 first half WS invoices. Now, since we haven't really discussed that, Karen, I'll ask you to jump in at this time before we proceed to a vote.
Sure. So this calendar year represents the first year of the new finance model for WLS. So you will see that when our WLS total bill for a particular year, prior to when we started dropping computers and services, was about $150,000 a year. We are now, because we're managing our own IT, and because WLS and the PLDA made a change in how the libraries are billed for IT, and that was the change that, as you know, I was really pushing for. Our total bill for the IT piece, or I'm sorry, not for the IT piece, for the ILS piece, which is the catalog and the circulation system, that's the part that we're going to be paying for. And half of that is $22,005, and so that represents a significant savings from what we were paying before. Another piece that we asked in the new finance model was the WLS breakout, the digital content that we pay for, the shared digital content, like not so much shared ebooks, but well, yes, shared ebooks, databases, Hoopla, Canopy, and that kind of thing. They broke that out from the model, so it's not all lumped together. And so our contribution for the shared digital content for the year is a little over $10,000. So we would be paying half of that. So so this is the year where we're going to realize the savings from that new model.
And there's
that being said, we are funding our own IT. So, the goal was always to be about a wash. Sorry.
Very good. Any other questions for Karen or the subject? If not,
are running smoothly now with this technology transfer. Let's reflect upon how awful things were before the pandemic, right? There wasn't a meeting where we weren't hearing about days and days of our employees not being able to access files. Right. So for like our new board member, it's very important that all that stuff gets put in context, because Allison, who you have built and developed as our technology guru, has absolutely transformed the technology approach in our building. And you were a leader in this effort when the libraries were all sort of coming forward and saying, hey, this is not acceptable, right?
Yeah, it was a team effort, most definitely.
Yes.
And we're very fortunate to have staff on board who can help manage this. That is for sure.
But we have been one of the most proactive libraries in the county with regard to this.
I would say so, yes.
Thank you. Let me read Resolution 42 and we'll proceed to a vote. Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the WLS invoices for SLA-ILS maintenance service in the amount of $22,570.32 and digital content per 100 population in the amount of $5,330.22 for the first half of 2022. I'll entertain a motion to proceed to a vote in a second. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Althema. All those in favor of Resolution 42, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or any objections? There being none, it carries 6-0. And Resolution 43, the approval of the Langan Engineering and Environmental Services Additional Services Request. It reads, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the Langan Engineering and Environmental Services Additional Services Request in the amount of $6,500 to provide a drone LiDAR-based topographic survey of the physical service features, buildings, walls, curbs, fences, etc., along with 1-foot contours of the library property. Karen gave us an overview. Are there any additional questions or comments regarding this expenditure?
Just one question, Matt. Does this survey allow us to see anything that's below the surface or not? Such as in the parking lot? Are we
No,
gonna...
it's not going to show things below the surface. And because we don't have a previously existing topographic survey, at least one that anyone can locate, we can't necessarily document any changes with it. However, for many of the things that we're going to be investigating coming up, we're going to have a survey like this. So, you know, whether we pay for it now or pay for it later, ultimately, this is something we're going to have. And they're also, if you look at the graphic, they're going to be looking at the ground surrounding us to a certain degree, especially behind us, which is going to be very helpful. And a little bit on either side of the property as well, which in particular, I always call it the Moose Lodge. It's probably something else, but their parking lot is sinking rapidly. It actually looks different than it did in the fall. So, you know, I think by having this overview, we're actually going to have a lot of information that is going to be used by, you know, possibly engineers helping us with the wells, whether they're decommissioned, that sort of thing. And it'll be used, you know, in the future if we're doing any kind of construction or changes. They'll probably refer to the data that we have here. So it's not just for the retaining wall survey. It's going to serve us going forward.
One
That was
reason
probably more than you wanted to know, Amanda.
Oh, no. No, that isn't more than I wanted to know. That was great to learn, Molly. Thank you. I also asked because at Monday's meeting, we had talked about how things underground could be potentially compromising the retaining wall. So I was wondering if this is how we were going to discover any of that, but it isn't.
It isn't, but it will probably play a role in any you know, it'll probably be a piece of any investigations and certainly will give us some additional data when they're gathering more information about what's going on underneath there.
Okay.
And certainly how we are going to have to handle it, whether that's what's causing the problem or if there are other problems.
Thank you.
Interesting
you.
that you say the parking lot next door. Right, that's an interesting observation, right?
Yeah, I think there's, in talking to the Langan engineer who was on site today, he thinks the fact that, and there have been other problems in this block, basically. What was the building that collapsed, Karen? There was some building in the area that collapsed.
The giant wall that collapsed down near
Yes.
on the way down to the train station.
Yeah. Apparently there's just a lot of, because we're sort of midway down this hill, there's a lot of water runoff, and that water runoff is probably creating some of the problems all along this stretch of the street.
Well, that's actually down by the train station, and I believe that actually happened probably close to 2 years ago, and there has been no remediation of it yet. Right?
Right.
There's still no occupancy of that building that is on the old Elks Lodge property.
So yeah, I thought there was also something in our block that had fallen over, but maybe not.
Possibly that I'm not thinking of.
So we're ready to entertain a motion and a second on resolution 43, so we can proceed to a vote. And we have Alice and Amanda. Thank you. All in favor of accepting resolution 43, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any abstentions or any objections? There being none, it carries 6-0, unanimous. Resolution 44, the acceptance of a donation. Resolved, it reads that the Board of Trustees accepts with gratitude a donation of $15 in memory of Susan Kelly by Jerry Mariano. Any comments or questions before we proceed to a vote?
What a lovely lady. So sweet. She contributed so much to the Friends, but also she had that tea shop on Main Street, and just a lovely, lovely lady.
I'll entertain a motion to accept in a second so we can proceed to a vote on resolution 44. And Amanda and Alice and Cecilia, thank you. All those in favor of resolution 44, please indicate by saying aye. Raising your hand is fine. Any abstentions or objections? It carries 6-0. Resolution 46, the approval of addition to the Internet Acceptable Use Policy. Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the addition of the following statement to the Internet Acceptable Use Policy. The library has received funding from the Federal Emergency Connectivity Fund, the ECF, to purchase hotspots and Chromebooks. Any ECF-supported equipment and services can only be provided to patrons who declare they do not have access to the equipment or services sufficient to access the internet. Karen, if I recall, you mentioned this is a requirement that we have to adhere to.
Yes, and I apologize for the last minute ask for a policy amendment. And we just learned about this a couple of days ago. Because of the federal funding that we received for the ECFs, 25 Chromebooks, 25 hotspots, the patrons are self-certifying. We don't need to do any investigation, but the patrons need to sign off on a form that they do not have access to the internet or a computer in order to borrow these items. And the ECF, or the Universal Services, and the federal law is asking that we have this clause in our internet use policy.
Okay, if there are no questions or additional comments, I'll entertain a motion in a second so we can vote on resolution 46 as it reads. And we have FEMA and Amanda. Thank you. All those in favor of resolution 46, please indicate by saying aye, raising your hand. All those against? Any abstentions or objections? There being none, that'll carry 6-0. And we're up to old business. The first item is Insights for You. That is a reference to Michael Holmes, our consultant. And we were brought up to date that there's an upcoming meeting. And hopefully next month we'll have details on the presentation, or the proposal, I should say. We talked about project management in previous reports and staff reviews and a long-range strategic plan implementation. We have also remaining on old business, the parking lot. Megan, that's a reference to the unfortunate circumstance that local businesses use our parking lot for their customers. And the restaurant is really putting a crimp on our patrons' accessibility to the building. So Karen and Molly, I don't know if there are any updates. This is a long-running problem for us.
Molly, can I ask you to weigh in on, Molly's been doing a lot of research and legwork. We have no solutions yet, but we have information.
I have looked in specifically to a kind of gate feature, just to get some ballpark in terms of what, types of models are available, what type of installation you can do. It ranges, as you would expect, from, $2,000 models up to $30,000 models, with a variety of considerations. So I selected some that looked like they would fit our circumstances, and I'm putting together a packet that I can show the Buildings and Grounds Committee. When it comes to towing offenders from the property, towing costs for the person being towed will probably, range from about $110 to $200. There are a variety of circumstances that can impact that price. But one of the considerations is we have to make sure we have very explicit signage on site that people will be towed at the owner's expense. It needs to be bilingual, approved by our attorney, and prominently placed. Additionally, we would want to talk to the attorney about any implications in terms of, property damage or problems. But it's not something where we can just pick up the phone and say, hey, we want you to tow car X. It's a little bit more involved than that. So at least we know, those two pieces.
And we'd have to assign staff to monitor it.
Right. And
well, that's the thing,
other
is how
piece.
do you determine that somebody was not a library user? If they went to both locations, or, we saw them, just go into the restaurant and then get back in their car, but then how do we stop them? But the one thing that we can do and pursue more aggressively is people blocking the lane as you come in, people stopping and idling. They are blocking a fire lane and an exit that needs to be open at all times. And so if we immediately call the police for any idling vehicle there, that's probably, one of the more effective ways to stop that problem.
I guess my question about the gate is, we can't do anything like that until all of the groundwork with the wells are done, right? Because I'm thinking we're going to have big equipment on our property.
Yeah.
This is really kind of long term.
We're just putting together options right now.
Okay.
And doing research to see what might work best, and as part of that, yes, we would work in staffing, some staffing considerations or budgets, because some of these things would require a degree of monitoring.
And this is in some ways an example of how the larger oversight of a firm that offers both architectural services as well as site engineering services. If we're factoring in the problem of that entrance and exit, they may actually have some suggestions about reconfiguring our driveway entrance that makes it less appealing, but still serves what we need. And those are the kinds of things that we don't ever, they're not in our purview to think about, or to necessarily apply a solution there. And so that's another way they can be of help to us.
Well, they have that expertise too.
Yeah.
Right.
Expertise and vision.
Uh-huh. Thank you. And we have challenges on the next item, a request to the Historical Society for items that were on loan to them, but the record keeping is less than excellent.
I had a conversation with, well, first of all, I've been going into the library's records, into back minutes, into the historical files that I have here in my office to see if there was record of donations of materials made to the Historical Society at any point. I have not found anything yet, but I haven't been through all the minutes yet. I've been through all the files. I had a conversation with Joe Burton, who is the president of the Historical Society, and with one of his colleagues up there who's been there longer than he has, so she has institutional knowledge. She said she would look on her end and their records as well, but neither one of them could recall a donation of items being made. The only thing they could recall that could have possibly been confused with a donation is that they have microfiche or microfilm records of an old newspaper, some old newspapers. That has always been theirs. We have had a microfilm or fiche reader at the library, and people take the film or fiche from the Historical Society to the library to read it and then back to the Historical Society. I don't know if that has any if that's involved in this recollection at all, but that was the only thing that she could think of that may have been construed as having belonged to the library. But she let me know she'd keep looking, and I will keep looking on my end.
Can I just ask, we have discussed multiple times having some sort of display case from the Historical Society at the library. That has not gone anywhere though, right?
So we abandoned that idea, and instead we have the display case that our village historian is using, and she just put her first display in of Ossining hospitals.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you would like to come in, it's in the Cheever room. So that's the inaugural display of our historical partnership, and we're just gonna go forward with that.
Well, that's great. I do remember there was a display down on the lowest level of somebody from the river, like a boat or something. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
I forget what it was, but
I think that was Henry Gordine, the Henry Gordine display.
it was Henry Gordine.
And that was temporary. That was
Yeah.
not sure where that ended up. I think they wanted it to end up in the Hudson River Museum, and it may have very well ended up there.
And I know Scott Craven was so excited about that display. Yes. And maybe Scott could also work with the historian too, because he also has such great insights on these.
He has been. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. And lastly, I don't believe there's an update for the potential financial endowment discussion.
I don't have an update for that.
Okay, so we can move on to new business. We have a pink piece of paper, the memo from WLS regarding the Bullet Aid grant. And it's a substantial amount of money.
Yes, perhaps you can explain the differences, because there are some libraries, well, I'm very grateful for $25,000, like, yay, team. But I do see some other libraries that got 30, 40, 5, and 70. So I'm just asking how that was divvied up.
This was a complete surprise to me, so I don't know. I would have to ask Terry to see if he has an idea of why that might be.
And so, but this is Bullet Aid for a specific thing, or is it just?
It's my understanding that it is not for a specific thing. It's to use where we feel we would like to use it. Similar to the Sandy Galiff grant that we got a couple of years ago for $40,000, which we ended up using for technology.
Mm-hmm. So
Terrific.
how will the decision get made of where to use this? I assume you'll be working with the staff on that.
Well, yes, so we have a number of projects that we've always been sort of kicking around in our minds. And I want to sort of land on a couple and discuss it with the board.
Karen, there's no hint that you're having trouble finding a way to spend that money, is there?
No.
Just checking.
Always nice to get a bullet aid with no strings. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, we can move on to the second and last opportunity for our guests to make a public comment. Jonathan, if perhaps you have any additional questions or comments for us.
No, I'm all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And-
Take care.
And you too. And Dennis, anything in addition to what you've already shared with us?
No, as things develop and we see how the year goes, we'll even work with the foundation, if need be.
Terrific.
But again, it's unbelievable what this library does for the community. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. So, Karen, do we need an additional executive session tonight?
There's nothing that I have unless somebody else needs one.
Not that I'm aware of.
So
And
I
that,
want to let the board know I'm my daughter's having a baby and I'm going out to San Francisco. So I will be joining you remotely from San Francisco on the 14th.
I thought you were there now.
No, you didn't.
There is, Matt, there is one very small thing for executive session that I wanted to make the board aware of. Thank you for bringing it up.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So at this time, let our guests know that we're going to quickly go into exec, and I'll entertain a motion to open exec in a second. All in favor, aye. The motion carries 6-0. Kathy, you got that right. Oh, thank you. And thank you again, Dennis. So Kathy, thank you again. And Karen, how can we be of service?
Good night.
Night, Molly.
Night.
So this is more of a heads up than anything in case there's backlash. We have a patron. He's a regular patron.
Karen, wait, you're recording.
Oh,
Thank you, Amanda.
to record. Thank you. And at this time, we have a new resolution that the board needs to consider passing. It reads that the Board of Trustees approves the evaluation of the executive director and approves both a one-time merit 1% increase in salary retroactive to March 2021 and a one-time merit 1% increase in salary effective March of 2022. If there's no discussion or any questions, I'll entertain a motion and a second so we can proceed to a vote. All those in favor? Oh, there we have, I'll make a note now, Thema and Cecilia. And all those in favor of this new resolution, please indicate by raising your hand and saying aye. Any abstentions, any objections? There being none, it carries 6-0. Thank you for your indulgence.
Can I
And
raise
now,
one more thing under new business? As I look at Althema, I keep forgetting to raise this. I know Althema, you've been talking about on the equity task force of doing some sort of like, like presentation work, right? Creating sort of community event. And I know they were looking for community support for it. So we don't have like an event set yet, but I was just respectfully requesting that the library sort of sign on to support whatever event gets proposed by the equity task force in sort of some sort of shared community learning opportunity, right? You have more detail, Althema.
okay. I'll entertain a motion if there are no other comments or questions to adjourn and a second. And thank you, Alice and Cecilia. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand or saying aye. Two hands don't count. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe. Thank you for your indulgence and your patience and your hard work. And we'll speak soon. February 14th is the next meeting.
Safe travels, Alice. Enjoy.
That's right.
Yeah,
Have a good time,
congratulations.
Alice.
Excited to become a
Thank you,
grandmother.
everybody.
Yeah.
Good night.
Congratulations,
night.
Alice. Send pictures.
I'll send you a picture.
Thank you.
Great, good.